The first thing Adenike felt was the sharp yank of her veil as someone pulled it back too quickly. She stumbled a step forward, trying to regain her balance before the entire hall saw her trip. But they saw everything anyway. 200 faces stared at her. Some sympathetic, most entertained, phones lifted, cameras glowing like tiny judgmental eyes. "Move," Bryce muttered behind her. She turned, confused. "Move where? The vows—" "There are no vows," Bryce snapped, loud enough that the sound echoed off the gold-trimmed walls of the Orlando Event Center. A ripple moved through the guests. People leaned forward. Someone whispered, "Is he serious?" Adenike felt her throat tighten. "Bryce, what are you talking about?" He exhaled dramatically, rolled his eyes, and stepped around her to face the crowd. "I can't do this. Not with this." He gestured at her body, at her curves, at everything she had tried to hide under the lace gown. "I thought I could go through with it, but I can't marry someone who looks like this." A choking sound burst from the audience. Adenike wasn't sure if it came from her mother or herself. "Bryce," his father hissed, "keep your voice down." "No," Bryce barked. "Everyone here needs to know. I've tried. But she's not what I want. She's not attractive enough. I'm not going to ruin my life because all of you think I should." Adenike's vision blurred, but she refused to blink. If she blinked, the tears would fall, and she would never forgive herself for crying in front of every single phone in this room. "Bryce, stop," his mother begged, stepping forward. "I'm done," Bryce said, waving her off. "I'm not marrying her. End of story." And then he turned his back, to her, to his parents, to the altar, and began walking down the aisle like the wedding was already over. Adenike's fingers trembled around the bouquet. She could feel her lips quivering. She tried to breathe evenly, to keep her spine straight, to pretend she wasn't dying inside, while strangers recorded her humiliation from 20 different angles. A bridesmaid whispered loudly, "Oh my God, poor girl." Another muttered, "This is going to be everywhere." Adenike swallowed the rising sob. Not here, not in front of them, not like this. But then something strange happened. The chatter died. The whispers stopped. The footsteps of Bryce abruptly halted, because the entrance door slammed open so hard that the walls shook. Every head turned. A man stood in the doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a charcoal suit cut so sharply it looked dangerous. He had jet-black hair swept back neatly, cold eyes that scanned the room with the precision of a hunter, and an expression so calm it was terrifying. Adenike had never seen him before, yet something in the way he looked at her made the air shift. Someone in the crowd gasped. That's Junha, Sayo." Phones lowered. People straightened unconsciously, like they were suddenly in the presence of someone important, someone powerful, someone they shouldn't offend. Junha walked down the aisle slowly, each step sending a wave of tension towards the altar. Bryce instinctively backed away, as if trying to avoid being noticed. But Junha had noticed. He stopped directly in front of Bryce. "You're leaving?" he asked quietly. Bryce's throat bobbed. This isn't your business." "It became my business," Junha said, turning slightly toward Adenike. "The moment you abandoned something you didn't deserve to hold." A murmur swept across the hall. Bryce blinked. "Who the hell are you?" Junha tilted his head, almost pitying him. "The man who won't walk away." He brushed past Bryce completely and approached Adenike. She stiffened as his hand lifted slowly, like he was giving her time to stop him. But she didn't move. He gently wiped the tear gathering at the corner of her eye before it could fall. You don't deserve to be humiliated, he said softly, only for her. Not by anyone. Adenike didn't know whether to step back or lean into the warmth of his touch. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Why are you here? He lowered his hand, but stayed close enough that she could feel the heat of him. Because he threw away something precious, Junha murmured, and I won't. Gasps spread again, her heart hammered painfully. Sir, I don't even know you. You will. His gaze softened in a way that made her breath catch. If you allow me, I'm not asking for your trust today. I'm asking for the chance to earn it. She stared at him in disbelief. Why me? Because I've watched you longer than you realize. His eyes flicked briefly to Bryce. And because no man who speaks to you like that deserves you. Bryce's father stepped forward nervously. Mr. Seo, with all due respect. No, Junha said simply, without looking at him. You forfeited the right to speak when you let your son do this. No one else tried to intervene. Junha turned fully to Adenike, offering her his hand. Not forceful, but steady, like an anchor. Come with me, he said. Not as a bride, not as a prize, as someone who deserves to leave this place with dignity. Adenike hesitated. Her eyes traveled over the room, at the judgment, the pity, the phones still recording, and then to Bryce, who avoided her gaze entirely. She placed her hand in Junha's. A collective gasp lifted through the hall. Junha clasped her fingers gently and nodded once, as if promising something without saying it aloud. He turned and led her down the aisle, past the guests who parted instinctively, giving him space the same way people step back from a storm. As they stepped outside, the humid Florida air hit her face. She finally breathed. Really breathed. A sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled up instantly. Adenike whispered, Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. Junha opened the car door for her. I know enough, he said quietly. Enough to never let you cry alone. She froze. What do you want from me? His eyes met hers. Dark, unreadable, intense. Time, he said, and the chance to show you the life you should have always had. Adenike's voice wavered. This feels unreal. Good, he murmured, because your real life starts now. She stepped into the car. The door closed, and everything she knew ended. The car rolled forward smoothly, the world outside blurring into streaks of palm trees and sunlight. Adenike sat stiffly, her hands clasped tightly in her lap as if she was afraid they might tremble. Junha sat beside her, calm and unreadable, his presence filling the space like quiet thunder. She finally managed. Where are we going? Somewhere you can breathe, he replied. That's not an answer. He turned to her, his expression softening. To my home. For now. Only until you feel steady again. His voice lowered. If you want to go somewhere else after that, I'll take you. Adenike didn't respond immediately. Her mind raced. Should she get out? Should she run? Should she trust him? This was crazy. Beyond crazy. Yet she felt safer next to this stranger than she ever felt with Bryce. She stared at him carefully. Why were you at my wedding? He was silent for a moment. Because you were never supposed to marry a man like him? That's not an answer either. He exhaled quietly. I own Callahan Holdings, the company where you work. I've reviewed your department more times than you know. I've watched how you carry yourself, how thoughtful you are with people, how you never take credit but always carry weight. He paused, studying her face. And how he never deserved you. Adenike's breath caught. You've seen me at work? More than once. So you were watching me? His jaw tightened, not with guilt, but honesty. Yes. Her heart raced, confused by a mixture of fear and something warmer, something she refused to name. Why? Because something drew me to you, he said simply, and I don't chase things without reason. The car turned into a long, palm-lined driveway toward a sleek mansion overlooking the ocean. Adenike stared in shock. It looked like something out of a movie. Glass walls, clean lines, a shimmering pool stretching towards the horizon. "This is where you live?" she whispered. "Among other places," he replied casually. The driver opened her door. Adenike stepped out, feeling the breeze lift her veil gently. It felt strange, still wearing a wedding dress after the wedding that never happened. She looked down at herself, at the lace, the shimmer, the dust from the pavement. She suddenly felt exposed. "I look ridiculous," she murmured. "No," Junha said behind her, his tone firm. "You look like a woman who deserved better than today." Something clenched tight in her chest. The front door opened, and a woman in her late 50s stepped out. Graceful, poised, with silver-streaked hair pulled back neatly. "Miss Adeyemi," she said warmly. "Welcome. I'm Hana, the house manager." Adenike blinked, thrown off. "You know my name?" "Mr. Seo informed me to prepare the master suite for you," Hana replied, with a slight bow. Adenike's eyes flew to Junha. "Master suite? Why—" "It's the most comfortable," he said calmly. "You deserve comfort today, nothing less." She wanted to protest, but the shock of the day crashed into her all at once. Her knees weakened. She gripped the railing. Junha stepped instantly to her side. "Sit," he whispered. "Let the world stop for a moment." Hana guided her inside to a large living room with full glass views of the ocean. The sound of waves against the shore seeped into her bones, calming her for the first time since morning. Adenike sank into a sofa, her fingers trembling. Junha sat across from her, not crowding, but close enough she felt him watching her closely. "Tell me what you're thinking," he said quietly. "That I shouldn't be here," she whispered. "That this is insane. That I don't even know you." "And yet," he murmured, "you walked out with me." She looked away, ashamed of how true that was. "I didn't know what else to do." "Yes, you did." His voice softened. "You chose dignity over shame, and you chose not to stand alone." Her chest tightened again. "Why do you speak like you know me?" "Because I've seen how you endure," he said, "even when no one notices." A breath escaped her shakily. She didn't know what to say to that. He stood and extended a hand. "Come. You should change out of that dress." "Into what?" she asked quietly. "Anything you want," he replied. Hana prepared options. As Hana led her upstairs, Adenike glanced once over her shoulder at Junha. He wasn't watching the ocean. He wasn't looking around the room. He was watching her. She entered the master suite, a serene, airy room with soft lighting and a balcony overlooking the sea. Fresh clothes were laid out. Simple dresses, loungewear, nothing extravagant, all her size. "How did you know?" Adenike murmured. "Mr. Seo notices everything," Hana said with a gentle smile. "He also wanted me to tell you, take as long as you need." Left alone, Adenike sat on the bed and finally let out the tears she had held back all morning. They came fast, messy, uncontrollable. She pressed her hands to her face, trying to breathe through it. A soft knock came at the door. "May I come in?" Junha's voice was low, careful. She wiped her face quickly. "I'm fine." You don't need to. He stepped inside anyway, closing the door quietly behind him. You don't have to be fine, he said gently. She turned away. I don't want you to see me like this. I already did, he said. At the altar. She sucked in a breath. And even then, he added, his voice barely above a whisper, you were stronger than anyone else in that room. Her eyes burned again. Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me. I know enough, he said. Enough to see the pain you carry. Enough to know you deserve more than what you received today. A tear fell. He reached out slowly, always giving her time to say no, and brushed it away with his thumb. Her breath hitched. You're safe here, he murmured. Nothing happens to you without your consent. Not in my home, not in my world. Adenike's voice trembled. What world is that? His jaw flexed. Complicated, dangerous, but I have rules, and the first rule is that no innocent woman is ever harmed because of me. She held his gaze. And I'm innocent to you? His eyes softened in a way that made her pulse stutter. More than you know. Silence stretched, charged, intimate. Finally, he stepped back slightly. Change your clothes, then eat something. Afterward, we'll talk about what you want to do next. She nodded slowly. He turned to leave, but paused at the door. Adenike, he said softly. Yes? If today broke you, let me be the one to help put you back together. Her breath caught. And then he was gone. Adenike changed into a simple cotton dress and washed the last traces of mascara from her cheeks. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back, red-rimmed eyes, trembling lips, but something steadier underneath. Something forming. Maybe strength, maybe shock, maybe the beginning of something she didn't have a name for yet. Downstairs, she found Jun-ha on the balcony, standing against the glass railing overlooking the ocean. He didn't turn immediately when she approached. He waited until she was close enough that he could hear her breathing, then finally shifted his gaze toward her. Better? He asked quietly. She hesitated. Not really, but also yes. It's complicated. A faint smile touched the corner of his mouth. Most truths are. She sat across from him, hands folded tightly. You said earlier that you've seen me before, watched me. That's not normal, you know. It wasn't meant to be normal, he replied. Nothing about the life I live is. That doesn't reassure me, he nodded. I figured. She exhaled shakily. Jun-ha, what do you want from me? Please be honest. Silence settled for a moment, stretched thin but not uncomfortable. He looked at her fully, without flinching, without looking away. I want time with you, he said simply. To know you, to understand you, to show you the things your ex-fiancé was too blind to see. That's vague. Specificity comes later, he said, when you're not shaking from a ruined wedding. Adenike almost smiled, despite everything. Fair. He leaned back slightly. Do you want to leave? If you tell me to take you anywhere, your parents' home, a hotel, I'll do it. You're not a prisoner here. Her heart twitched. I know. That's why I stayed. He nodded once. Approval, gratitude, something quiet and unreadable. A soft breeze slipped between them. Adenike looked out at the water, trying to make sense of the day. You said your world is dangerous. Yes. What does that mean? It means, he answered slowly, that some of my businesses operate in places where the law is negotiable. She turned to him, searching his face. Are you telling me you're a criminal? He met her eyes without hesitation. I'm telling you that power comes with shadows, and I live in some of them. Her pulse jumped. Should I be scared? No, he said immediately. Never of me. But of your world? Possibly, he admitted. But I don't bring people into it unless I can protect them. Adenike swallowed. Why are you telling me this? Because honesty is the only thing I can offer you right now, he said. And because you deserve the truth. Before she could respond, Hana appeared in the doorway. Dinner is ready whenever you are. Junha nodded. Thank you. As they walked to the dining room, Adenike whispered, You planned all this, for me? No, he said softly. I didn't plan for you. I hoped for you. Her steps faltered. Why me, Junha? What did you see that made you wait for me like that? He slowed, then turned to her. I remember the first time I saw you. You were carrying 2 boxes of financial reports up the stairs at the office because the elevator was broken. Your manager walked right past you and didn't offer help. I watched you adjust the boxes, smile politely, and keep climbing. That's not special, she murmured. Most people would complain, he said. Most people would make it someone else's problem. You didn't. There was grace in how you endured something small and annoying. It told me everything about how you survive bigger things. Adenike looked away, overwhelmed. I didn't know anyone saw that. I did, he said, and I haven't stopped noticing since. Dinner was simple. Grilled fish, rice, plantains, vegetables, but delicious. Adenike ate quietly at first, but Junha watched her with such calm patience that she eventually relaxed. Do you always take people from their weddings? She asked suddenly, trying to lighten the mood. He almost laughed. Only the ones worth saving. Saving? She repeated, raising a brow. Your ex attacked you publicly, he said. If that isn't something to be saved from, I don't know what is. But why intervene? You could have just watched the disaster and left. I don't like watching good people suffer, he said, especially when I can stop it. But you don't even know me. I know more than you think, he murmured. I know you volunteer at that animal shelter on Lakeview. I know you bring leftover food to the night guards at work. I know you bake lemon cake when you're stressed. And I know you've spent years trying to be smaller, to fit into what people expect, instead of being fully yourself. Adenike's breath caught in her chest. How do you know all that? He looked at her gently. Because I paid attention. Because I wanted to. Her fork paused mid-air. That should worry me, but it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Because nothing about the way I look at you feels dangerous, he answered calmly. She swallowed hard. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. After dinner they moved to the living room. The sun had set, leaving only soft golden lights and the whisper of waves against the shore. Adenike wrapped her arms around herself. So what happens now? That depends entirely on you, he said. I don't know what I want, she whispered. You don't need to know, he replied. Not today. She met his gaze, and for the first time she didn't look away. You're intense, you know. So I've been told. And intimidating. I try not to be. It doesn't work, she added. He smirked faintly. Are you intimidated right now? She hesitated, then nodded. But not enough to walk away. Her eyes widened slightly. Maybe I should. You won't. How do you know that? Because you're curious, he said. And because you feel something too, even if you don't want to admit it. Warmth spread through her chest, confusing and frightening. You're very sure of yourself, she murmured. No, he said gently. I'm only sure of you. Her breath hitched again. He stepped closer, slowly, giving her space to refuse. When she didn't move away, He reached out and tucked a loose curl behind her ear. His fingers brushed her cheek lightly, and she shivered. "Adenike," he whispered, "you walked out of that hall with your head up. That is the moment I knew you were exactly who I thought you were." She exhaled shakily. "And who is that?" His voice dropped. "A woman worth crossing any line for." Her pulse thundered, and for the first time, the fear in her chest felt like possibility. Adenike barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Bryce's face, then Junha's, one dripping with disdain, the other steady with something she didn't dare name. By morning her mind was a storm. Grief and curiosity tangled together. She stepped onto the balcony to breathe. The ocean air brushed her face, cool and grounding. She wrapped her arms around herself, staring at the endless stretch of water, wondering how her life had changed so violently in just a few hours. "You're awake early." She turned sharply. Junha stood in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. He wore black sweatpants and a simple t-shirt, his hair slightly tousled. The casual look made him seem younger, almost softer. "Couldn't sleep," she said quietly. "I figured." He handed her a cup. "Try this. Hana said you take it with milk and a little sugar." "You told her how I take my coffee?" she asked, surprised. He lifted one shoulder in a modest shrug. "I pay attention?" Adenike took a sip and sighed. "This is good. Thank you." They stood side by side for a while, watching the waves crash against the shore. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable. It felt strange, like something forming that neither of them understood yet. Finally she asked, "What happens now? To my job? To the bakery you mentioned last night? Everything feels like it's on pause." He turned slightly, studying her face. "Your job is done." She stiffened. "What? Why?" "Because you resigned." "I did not resign," she exclaimed. "You did," he corrected gently. "I submitted the papers myself." Her jaw dropped. "You what?" He didn't flinch. "Adenike, they didn't appreciate you there. The work you did carried half the department, and still they treated you like nothing." "That doesn't give you the right to decide my future." "It doesn't," he acknowledged, his voice calm. "But it gives me the ability to remove you from a place that didn't see your worth." She stared at him, shocked into silence. He stepped closer. "I told you I would change your life if you wanted me to. You didn't tell me no." "I didn't say yes either," she whispered. His eyes softened. "Then say it now. Tell me you want something different, something better, and I'll give it to you." She looked away, her emotions a tight knot. "You can't just fix everything." "I can try," he murmured, "and I will." She pressed her fingers to her temple, overwhelmed. "You're too much." "So I've heard," he replied with a faint smile. Lunch was quiet, but not cold. Adenike ate slowly, still processing everything. Junha didn't push her. He simply watched with patient intensity, the way a man watches something fragile he doesn't want to break. After the meal, he asked, "Do you want to see the space?" "What space?" she asked cautiously. "The bakery location." His voice deepened. "It's ready whenever you want it." Her heart fluttered. "Ready? Already?" "I make things happen fast," he said simply. She hesitated, then nodded. The drive to Coconut Grove was peaceful, lined with palm trees and sunshine. When they arrived, she stepped out and stared at the storefront. Modern glass, soft cream tiles, gold lettering still covered by protective film. He unlocked the door and nodded for her to enter first. The interior was airy and warm, with wooden counters and huge windows letting in natural light. Her mind immediately filled with ideas. Flavors, displays, colors. What do you think? He asked quietly. She turned in a slow circle, awe softening her features. It's beautiful. I can't believe this is for me. It's always been for you, he said. I just hadn't given it to you yet. Her throat tightened. Why are you doing all this? He approached her slowly, footsteps steady. Because you deserve to build something that belongs to you. Something that's yours, not something you're forced into. But this is too much, she breathed. Too fast. It's only fast because your old life moved too slowly, he said. For too long. She leaned against the counter, overwhelmed. I don't know how to accept all this. You don't have to accept anything right now, he said softly. Just allow yourself to feel it. She looked up at him, her breath catching at how close he was. You're going to ruin my life, you know. His gaze dipped to her lips for a fraction of a second before returning to her eyes. No, he whispered. I'm going to rebuild it. The moment stretched, charged with a warmth she wasn't prepared for. Adenike took a small step back, trying to steady her heartbeat. Let's go, she said. I need air. He nodded. Of course. Back at the mansion, her phone buzzed for the first time that day. Her stomach tightened when she saw the caller ID. Bryce. Her hand trembled as she answered. Hello? His voice was frantic. Adenike, I've been calling non-stop. Where are you? Are you safe? You don't get to ask me that, she said, her voice colder than she expected. I messed up, okay? He said desperately. I thought I was stupid. I panicked. I shouldn't have said those things. Shouldn't have said them in public? She asked sharply. Or shouldn't have said them at all? Silence. You don't understand, Bryce stammered. Everyone was pressuring me and you took it out on me, she cut in front of the world. He sounded on the verge of tears. Please, Adenike, let me fix this. Let's talk. I'll come get you right now. You can't, she said quietly. What do you mean? She looked toward the balcony, where Junha stood with his hands in his pockets, watching her with unreadable eyes. I'm not alone, she whispered. Who? That Korean guy? Bryce spat. Adenike, you don't know him. He's dangerous. He's kinder to me than you ever were, she said. Bryce inhaled, sharply. Adenike, please. No, she said. Goodbye, Bryce. She hung up before he could respond. Her hand shook as she lowered the phone. She didn't notice Junha until he was right in front of her. Are you all right? He asked softly. She took a shaky breath. I think so, he nodded once. Good, because that chapter is closed. She met his gaze. You sound very certain. I am, he said. I don't share what I intend to keep. Her heart stumbled. Come, he murmured. Walk with me. He led her towards the private beach, his hand brushing lightly against hers. She didn't pull away. The sun was lowering, painting the sky in soft orange and pink. The waves rolled gently over the sand, and the air smelled of salt and warmth. Adenike paused, staring at the horizon. Everything feels unreal. Junha stepped closer behind her, not touching, just near enough that she felt his presence like a slow, warm current. It's real, he said, and it's only the beginning. She didn't turn around. What are you doing to me? Nothing, he murmured. Everything. I don't know anymore. His honesty shook something loose in her. Junha? Yes? Why does it feel like you've known me longer than I've known myself? He exhaled slowly, the sound almost pained. Because I've waited for you longer than I ever expected to. She swallowed hard, her pulse pounding. "I don't know what this is," she whispered. "Neither do I," he said. "But I know I don't want it to stop." And for the first time, she didn't run from the way those words made her feel. Adenike walked barefoot along the sand, letting the ocean wash over her toes. The water felt cool, grounding. She needed grounding, because every time she looked at Junha, her heart forgot what steady even meant. He walked beside her, not touching her, but somehow close enough that her entire body was aware of him. He carried silence the same way he carried presence, with intention. Finally she asked, "What do you want from me, really? Not the polished answer, the real one." He didn't respond right away. He stared at the horizon, the wind lifting strands of his hair. Then softly, "I want the chance to know you without interruption, without shame, without anyone telling you you're too much or not enough." Her breath hitched. "That's a lot." "I'm a lot," he murmured. She huffed a small laugh despite herself. "You definitely are." He glanced sideways at her, eyes warming. "I like when you laugh." She looked away before the warmth swallowed her whole. They walked in silence again. But it wasn't awkward. It was charged, slow-burning, like something building underneath their feet. "What do you want, Adenike?" he asked suddenly. She froze. "I don't know." "Yes, you do," he said quietly. "You've just never been allowed to say it out loud." Her throat tightened. "I want a life that feels like mine. I want to stop apologizing for existing. I want to breathe." He nodded once. "Then that's what you'll have." She frowned. "You talk like you can rearrange the universe." His voice dropped. "I can rearrange yours." A tremor went through her. She turned abruptly and began walking back toward the mansion, needing space, needing air, needing something she wasn't ready to acknowledge. He followed without pushing. Inside, Hana greeted them warmly. "There's a visitor in the foyer," she said. Adenike stiffened. "Visitor?" Junha's posture changed instantly, alert, controlled, dangerous. "Who?" he asked. "Mr. Taiho," Hana replied. Adenike didn't recognize the name, but something in Junha's expression shifted, relief mixed with steel. A man stepped into view. Korean, mid-30s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. He bowed respectfully to Junha. "Boss?" Adenike blinked. "Boss?" Taiho nodded in greeting to her. "Miss Adeyemi." Junha stepped slightly in front of her, subtly protective. "Report." Taiho's voice was calm. "There's movement from Marco Vance's side. He saw what happened at the wedding. He's asking questions." Adenike's stomach dropped. "Who is Marco Vance?" Junha didn't answer immediately. Taiho did. "A man with too much ego and not enough sense. He's been trying to interfere with Mr. Seo's businesses for months." Adenike looked between them. "Interfere how?" Junha finally spoke. "He's a rival who doesn't like losing, and he's petty enough to use people as leverage." A beat, Adenike's heart thumped. Would he use me?" Junha's expression darkened, the temperature in the room seeming to drop. "He won't touch you," he said, voice low, a warning wrapped in certainty. "Not while I'm breathing." Taiho cleared his throat. "We should increase security. I'll have the team rotate shifts around the property." "Do it," Junha said. Adenike felt a wave of dizziness. "I didn't ask for any of this." "No," Junha admitted, "but you walked into my world the moment you took my hand." "And what world is that?" He met her eyes. "One that protects what it keeps." The phrasing made her pulse skip for all the wrong reasons, and yet all the right ones, too. Taiho gave a small nod. I'll handle everything. Miss Adeyemi, if you need anything, Hana or I are available." He bowed again and left through the side hall. Adenike sat heavily on the sofa. "You weren't joking? Your world really is dangerous." "I told you the truth," he said gently. "I won't lie to you. Not now, not ever." She pressed her palms to her face. "This is too much. Yesterday I was preparing to get married, and today, security teams, dangerous men, rivals. Yesterday you were about to marry a man who humiliated you," he said softly. "Today you're safe. That's the only thing that matters." "Safe?" She laughed shakily. "With all that's happening? You're safest with me," he said, "even if the world outside disagrees." She looked at him. Really looked. "Why are you so sure about me?" He sat across from her, leaning forward slightly. "Because I've spent years surrounded by people who want something from me. And then there's you, a woman who gives without demanding, who endures without bitterness, who stands up after being torn down." His voice softened. "And because I didn't realize how empty my life was until I saw you almost break at that altar." Her breath trembled. "Please stop talking like that," she whispered. He tilted his head. "Why?" "Because you'll make me believe you," she said quietly. Their eyes locked, the air pulling tight between them. "You should," he murmured, "because I've never been more sincere." Adenike looked away quickly, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Hana returned quietly. "Dinner will be ready in an hour." "Thank you," Junha said. Adenike stood abruptly. "I need a moment alone." Junha's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Take your time." She climbed the stairs quickly, closing the bedroom door behind her, but her pulse still wouldn't calm. She pressed her back to the door, breathing hard. A knock came gently. "Adenike?" She swallowed. "I said I needed a moment, Junha." "I know," he said softly. "I just wanted to tell you. You don't have to be afraid of feeling something." She squeezed her eyes shut. "I'm not afraid." "You are," he said. "But it's all right. I'll wait." She opened her eyes, staring at the door, imagining him standing on the other side. "Why?" she whispered. "Because you're worth waiting for." Her chest tightened painfully. Silence stretched. Then he added, "Dinner is in an hour. If you don't want to eat with me, I'll have Hana bring your food upstairs." She hesitated. "I'll come down." Soft footsteps retreated. Adenike let out a shaky breath, sinking onto the bed. Her emotions were tangled: fear, confusion, curiosity, longing. She had no idea what she was stepping into. But she knew something else with terrifying clarity. She didn't want to step back out. Dinner was a quiet affair, but not cold, just heavy with unspoken things neither of them knew how to say aloud. Midway through the meal, Adenike put her fork down. "Junha?" "Yes?" "I want to learn how to defend myself. For real. You mentioned it yesterday." He straightened slightly. "I can teach you." "I want you to." A slow, approving warmth spread across his face. "Then we start tomorrow." She exhaled, feeling a strange sense of control returning. "And thank you," she added. "For what?" "For not walking away when I said nothing." He held her gaze. "I won't walk away, Adenike. Not today. Not ever." Her heartbeat stumbled again. She looked away, but she didn't tell him to stop. Morning light spilled into the training room, soft and golden. Adenike stood barefoot on the mat, wearing simple workout clothes Hana had left for her. Her stomach fluttered with nerves. Not because of the training, but because of the man standing in front of her. Junha wore black joggers and a fitted long-sleeve shirt, sleeves pushed up just enough to reveal strong forearms, He looked focused, grounded, dangerous in a way that made her pulse jump. "Relax your shoulders," he said gently. "I am relaxed," she lied. He stepped closer, his hand brushing the top of her shoulder lightly. "You're tense. You're thinking too much." "You're the reason I'm thinking too much." His lips curved slightly. "Good." "That wasn't a compliment," she muttered. "It felt like one." She rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. "All right," he said, stepping back. "First lesson. When someone grabs you from the front, what do? Cry?" she offered. He chuckled softly, the sound warm and disarming. "No. You break the grip before the fear breaks you." He reached for her wrist slowly, giving her time to react. "I'm going to grab you, okay?" She nodded. He closed his hand around her wrist, not tight, just firm. "Twist your hand toward my thumb," he said. "That's the weakest point." She tried. Nothing happened. Again. She twisted harder. Still nothing. "This is pointless," she muttered. "It's not," he said softly. "You just don't trust your strength yet." He stepped behind her, close enough that she felt his breath on the back of her neck. He guided her hand with his own, his other hand resting lightly at her waist to stabilize her posture. "Turn with your whole body," he murmured. She swallowed. "You're very close." "Do you want me to move?" he asked. "No." The words slipped out too fast, too honest. He paused, just a second, but it was enough to change the air between them. "Then breathe," he said softly. She twisted again, putting her weight into it, and the grip broke free. She gasped. "I did it," he smiled, a real one this time. "Of course you did." They practiced more grips, more escapes. She stumbled twice, crashed into his chest once, and nearly fell backward when she tripped over her own feet. Each time, his hands caught her instantly, steady, warm, unshakable. After nearly an hour, she leaned against the wall, panting. "This is harder than it looks." "You did well," he said. "Most people freeze. You learn." She wiped her forehead. "I'm trying." "You're doing more than trying?" She met his gaze, breathing, slowing. "Why do you look at me? Like that?" "How?" he asked quietly. "Like you're trying to read my mind." "Maybe I am." "And what do you see?" His voice dropped. "Someone who's stronger than she knows. Someone who's already changing." Her heart fluttered. She looked away quickly. "I should shower." "Yes," he said a little too quickly, as if breaking his own trance. "Good idea." She almost smiled at how human he suddenly looked. As she left the room, she felt his eyes follow her. But not possessively. Curiously. Deeply. Back in her room, while showering, her mind replayed every moment. How he touched her waist only when necessary. How he never crossed boundaries. How he watched her with a mixture of restraint and desire he never acted on. She had never been looked at like that in her life. After changing, she headed downstairs. She expected to find him waiting. Instead, she walked in on raised voices. Tai-Ho stood near the kitchen counter, tense. "Marco is pushing again. He sent someone to ask where you were last night." "He won't find anything," Junha replied coolly. "He's getting desperate." "And when men like him are desperate," Junha said, "they make mistakes." Adenike froze, the weight of their words sinking in. She stepped forward. "Is this about me?" Both men turned sharply. Junha's expression softened instantly. "You weren't supposed to hear that." "But I did," she said. "So tell me the truth." Tai-Ho looked at his boss for permission. Junha nodded once. "Marco Vance believes you being here gives him leverage," Tai-Ho explained. Adenike's stomach dropped. "Leverage for what?" "To get under Junha's skin," Taiho said plainly. To provoke him, to distract him. Adenike swallowed. And will it work? No, Junha said firmly. Because I won't allow it. She stepped closer. But I'm the one he's looking at. You're not responsible for his decisions, Junha said calmly. He's targeting you only because he can't target me directly. That doesn't make me feel better, she whispered. I know. His voice softened. Which is why I've increased security around you. Adenike exhaled shakily. I didn't choose this world. No, he said, but this world chose to touch you when it hurt you. I'm just correcting the imbalance. She stared at him, a mixture of fear and admiration flooding her. Then Taiho added quietly, Boss, he asked if she's important to you. Junha stiffened. What did you say? That it wasn't his business. Junha's eyes darkened, not in fear, but in something far more dangerous. Make sure he understands, Junha said, that touching her is the same as declaring war. Adenike felt her heart kick in her chest. Junha. That sounds extreme. He stepped toward her, his tone calm but intense. No, one threatens what I protect. She shivered, not because of fear, but because of the raw conviction in his voice. After Taiho left, Adenike leaned against the counter, trying to steady her breathing. Tell me honestly, she whispered. Am I in danger? He approached slowly, stopping just inches away. I won't let anything happen to you. That's not what I asked. He hesitated. That alone frightened her. Adenike, he said softly, danger finds everyone in my world eventually. But not today, not tomorrow, and not while I'm standing between you and it. That's not comforting. I'm not trying to comfort you, he said. I'm giving you the truth. She looked up at him. Then give me all of it. He exhaled. Marco is reckless. He wants my attention. He thinks you're the way to get it. He's wrong. And if he tries something, I'll end it. Her breath hitched. What does that mean? His eyes softened. It means no harm will touch you. Not while I'm alive. Adenike's emotions tangled. Fear, tension, attraction, confusion. I don't want you getting hurt because of me. He shook his head. You're not a burden. You're the reason I see my life differently now. Silence thickened between them. Finally, he said, Stay close to me today. Why? She whispered. Because, he murmured, voice dropping, I think today is the day everything changes. Her pulse sped up. For better or worse? She asked. His gaze locked onto hers. For both. Adenike felt the tension in the air long before she understood it. Something about the way Junha moved, calm yet alert, relaxed yet coiled, made her realize the day wasn't normal. Not for him, and definitely not for her. After lunch, he suggested they go into town for a few errands. His tone was casual, but his eyes tracked every shadow, every passing figure outside the car window. 2 black SUVs trailed behind them, each filled with security detail. Adenike tightened her seatbelt. Is this really necessary? Yes, he said quietly. She exhaled. Because of Marco? Yes. And because of me? She added. His jaw flexed. Because of you. She didn't know whether to feel frightened or protected. The bakery space in Coconut Grove had been cleaned overnight. Fresh paint smell lingered in the air, and sunlight poured through the windows, softening the sharp edges of her uncertainty. She ran her hand along the counter. It still feels unreal. It's real, Junha said behind her, and it belongs to you. She swallowed. You keep saying things like that. He tilted his head. Things like what? Things that make me feel like I'm Yours. Something flickered in his eyes. Heat, restraint, something she hadn't seen on any man before. Do you want to be? He asked softly. Her breath hitched. I don't know. I do, he murmured. Her heart slammed in her chest. You barely know me. That's not true, he said. I've watched you long enough to know what kind of woman you are. She stepped back from the counter, suddenly needing space. I'm not some fantasy you can just collect. I don't collect people, he said. I choose them. And you chose me? Yes. Why? He stepped closer, slowly, every movement deliberate. Because your strength is quiet but real. Because you survived things that should have broken you. Because you're kind in a world that doesn't reward kindness. And because the moment I saw you cry, something in me... His voice dropped, roughened. Something in me refused to stay silent. Adenike's knees weakened. You sound like you've convinced yourself I'm perfect. His gaze softened. You're human. That's better. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. She flinched, already knowing who it was. Bryce. She silenced it. Turned the phone off. Junha watched quietly. If he bothers you again, I'll handle it. That's the problem, she said. Everything with you sounds like it ends violently. It won't, he said, lowering his voice. Not unless someone forces my hand. And you think Marco will? I know he will. She leaned against the wall, overwhelmed. What do you expect me to do with all of this? Just accept danger as part of my life now? No, he said. I expect you to trust me to handle the danger. You don't have to carry any of it. But I'm still in it, she whispered. He stepped closer, close enough that his presence wrapped around her like a shield. Yes, but not alone. Her lips parted, her chest tightening. Then a security guard entered abruptly, bowing slightly. Sir, we have movement outside. Adenike froze. What does that mean? Stay here, Junha said immediately. No, she said, grabbing his arm. Don't walk out without telling me what's going on. He paused, eyes locking onto hers. Someone followed us from the mansion. Her breath hitched. Marco's people? Possibly. The guard cleared his throat. They're not approaching the building. They're just watching. Adenike's stomach twisted. Double the perimeter, Junha ordered, and pull footage from the traffic cams. Yes, sir. When the guard left, he turned back to her. His voice softened. Adenike, look at me. She did. You're safe, he said. Say it. Her voice trembled. I don't feel safe. You are, he repeated calmly, and you will continue to be. Nothing is going to happen to you. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. She shook her head. You're human, not a shield. I'm both. She stared at him, her emotions a storm. Why are you doing all of this? What's the real reason, Junha? Don't tell me it's kindness or protection. It's more than that. I can feel it. His expression changed. Something vulnerable flickered through. Something unguarded. The moment I saw you cry, he said slowly, I remembered what it felt like to have no one, and I swore you would never feel that again. Adenike's breath caught. But there's more, she whispered. Yes, he said. There is. Tell me. He exhaled deeply, stepping closer until she felt the heat of his body. You walked into my life the one way I couldn't ignore. Through pain. And instead of collapsing, you stood up. I admire that more than I can explain. Her pulse raced. That's still not the whole truth. No, he agreed. It's not. Then what is? He hesitated, the first genuine hesitation she'd seen from him. I care about you, he said finally, voice low. More than I should. More than I intended. More than you know. Her heart hammered violently. That's not possible, she whispered. We barely know each other. He stepped forward, so close his breath touched her cheek. Then why can't you look away from me? She inhaled sharply. Why do your hands shake only when I touch you? He whispered. Her knees weakened. And why, he murmured, did you walk out of your wedding with a man you'd never spoken a single word to before today? She didn't have an answer. Their breath mingled, neither moving, both trapped in a moment that felt like the edge of something dangerous and beautiful. But then, outside, a car engine revved loudly. Adenika jumped. Junha instantly shifted, alert, assessing, protective. Time to go, he said. Now. What? Why? Because Marco's men don't follow people for fun. She clutched her bag, panic creeping into her voice. Are they coming inside? No, he said, but they're close enough that I'm not risking anything. He ushered her out through the back door, into a waiting SUV with tinted windows. She slid inside, pulse racing. He got in beside her, shutting the door firmly. As the car pulled away, she whispered, I don't want someone to get hurt because of me. He turned to her, eyes steady. Then listen carefully. Her heart thudded. You're not the reason danger is coming, he said. I am. You're just the first person in my life who makes me afraid to lose. The words hit her like a blow. Junha. He shook his head slightly. Don't ask me to stop protecting you. I won't. She swallowed hard. I wasn't going to. He stared at her. Intense, raw, honest. Good, he murmured. They drove in silence until the mansion gates came into view. And even though nothing happened, even though no one tried to grab her, even though the danger was still only shadows, Adenika realized something terrifyingly simple. This man was willing to go to war, an actual war, for her, and she didn't know whether to run from that truth or fall deeper into it. The mansion felt different when they returned, heavier, quieter, as if the walls themselves understood danger was inching closer. Adenika stepped inside slowly, her pulse still unsettled from the tense ride home. The moment the door closed behind them, Junha stood still for a second, inhaling deeply, like he needed to center himself before speaking. You're shaking, he said. I'm not, she whispered. You are. He moved closer, gently taking her hands in his. His touch was steady, warm. I won't let anything happen to you. She swallowed hard. You keep saying that, but you can't control everything. His jaw flexed. I control enough. Then tell me the truth, she said. All of it. No more half answers. Who exactly is Marco, and why does he feel bold enough to follow us? Junha hesitated. Not out of reluctance, but out of the realization that once he opened this door, he couldn't close it again. Marco Vance runs a chain of offshore casinos, he began quietly. And the businesses he uses to launder money interfere with mine. So this is about business? It started that way, but now it's personal for him. He met her eyes. Because he knows I care about you. Her breath caught. You told him that? No. Then how? A man's weakness is always visible, he murmured. And Marco saw mine the moment he realized I would protect you. Adenika stepped back slightly, overwhelmed. I didn't ask to be anyone's weakness. You're not, he said. You're my boundary, my line, my consequence. Her pulse stumbled. That sounds dangerous. He didn't look away. Everything about me is dangerous. I told you from the beginning. Then why pull me into it? She whispered. Because you were already dragged into it the second Bryce humiliated you. The world saw you crumble, Adenike. And men like Marco see vulnerability as opportunity. I won't let him take advantage of yours." "I wasn't vulnerable," she protested, even though her voice trembled. "I was embarrassed." "That's vulnerability," he said, "and the world punishes women for it." "You sound like you've lived through that," she said softly. He exhaled. "My mother." Her chest tightened. "What happened to her?" He paused, tension flickering in his eyes. "She died when I was 16. Cancer. I watched men, relatives, old business partners, treat her like she was disposable because she was weak and dying. I learned then that vulnerability is a wound only the cruel exploit." Adenike felt her throat close. "And you think I'm vulnerable like she was?" she whispered. "No," he said gently. "You're strong, but you're soft in ways this world doesn't tolerate, and I won't let anyone weaponize that softness against you." She looked away quickly, overwhelmed by the depth in his voice. "I don't know if I can do this." "Do what?" "Live in fear." "You won't," he said, "because I'll handle the fear. You just live." "That's not how it works, Junha." "Then tell me how it works," he challenged quietly. "Tell me how to stop wanting to protect you." She stared at him. His honesty hit her like a physical force, unfiltered, raw, intense. "Protection is one thing," she said. "Ownership is another." "I don't want to own you," he said. "I want to choose you, and I want you to choose me." Her breath trembled. "This is too fast." "Fast doesn't mean wrong. It means risky." He stepped closer until their bodies were almost touching. "Then take the risk. With me." Before she could respond, Tae-ho entered the room abruptly, tension written across his face. "Boss, we have a problem." Adenike's stomach twisted. "What now?" Tae-ho bowed slightly to her, then addressed Junha. "Marco reached out directly. He wants a meeting." Junha's jaw tightened. "Where?" "Las Vegas. Tonight." Adenike grabbed his arm. "You're not going." "I have to." "No, you don't." "Yes," he said firmly, "because if I don't, he'll escalate." Tae-ho added quietly, "He mentioned her name, boss." Junha froze. Adenike's blood ran cold. Why would he mention me?" "Because he's pulling strings," Tae-ho replied. "He wants to provoke you." "And he succeeded," Junha said, voice low and dangerous. Adenike shook her head. No, you can't go running into danger because of me." "I don't run into danger," he said. "I control it." "That's not comforting." He turned to Tae-ho. "Book the jet." "Done," Tae-ho said, leaving the room. Adenike grabbed Junha's wrist. "You're scaring me." He softened instantly. "I don't want to." "Then don't do this. Let the police handle it." He laughed softly, but without humor. "The police, Adenike, men like Marco don't fear the police. They fear each other." "And you're one of them?" she whispered. His silence was the answer. "I don't know if I can be part of this," she said, voice breaking. "I don't want someone to die because of me." "No one will," he said. "I'll make sure of it." "You can't promise that." "I just did." She stepped back, tears filling her eyes. "I can't lose someone I've barely had the chance to know." He froze, because that was the first time she admitted she wanted to know him at all. "Adenike," he said softly, "come with me." Her eyes widened. "To Las Vegas?" "Yes." "I can't." "Why?" "Because I'll be a distraction." "No," he said. "You'll be my calm." She blinked, stunned. "I think clearer when you're near," he added. "And I fight harder when I know you're safe." Her voice trembled. "You sound like you've already decided I belong in your life." He stepped forward, cupping her cheek with one gentle hand. You walked into it, and I don't want you leaving. Her breath stuttered. Say yes, he whispered. Come with me. She stared into his eyes, dark, determined, and frighteningly sincere, and she realized something terrifying. Every part of her was already leaning toward him. She whispered. But before she could answer, Hana rushed in. Miss Adeyemi, someone delivered this. She handed over a small white envelope. Adenike opened it. Inside was a single photograph. Her, leaving the bakery earlier that day. Adenike's blood ran cold. Oh my God! Junha snatched the photo, eyes blazing. He's watching her. Adenike stepped back, trembling. He was there. He was actually there. Junha's voice dropped into something lethal. Cancel the meeting. No more talking. What does that mean? She asked, terrified. It means Marco made the last mistake he'll ever make. Adenike grabbed his arm. Stop, please. Don't do something you'll regret. He looked at her, his eyes softening slightly. The only thing I would regret is failing to protect you. Junha, please. He took her hands in his. Pack a bag. We're leaving tonight, before he tries anything else. For Vegas? For somewhere safe, he said. And then Vegas. She swallowed hard. And if I say no? He stepped closer, voice almost breaking. Then I won't force you, but I'll die trying to keep you safe from afar. Her knees weakened, and she realized she had only two choices: run from the danger or stay with the man willing to face it for her. Adenike's hands trembled as she packed her small overnight bag. She tried to focus on folding her clothes neatly, but her fingers kept slipping, her breaths coming too fast. Every time she blinked, she saw the photograph again. Her face captured through a camera she never noticed, a stranger watching her from somewhere close enough to touch. She zipped the bag and pressed it to her chest, trying to steady the shaking. A soft knock sounded on the door. Adenike? Junha's voice was low, steady, the calm opposite of her storm. She opened the door slowly. He stood there with a travel bag slung over one shoulder, dressed in a dark jacket and fitted shirt. He looked composed, but his eyes were burning. You ready? He asked gently. I don't know, she whispered. But I packed. That's enough. She stepped out, and he immediately reached for her hand, not grabbing, just offering. She hesitated for a split second before letting her fingers slip into his. The moment their hands touched, something inside her steadied. Taeho is prepping the car, he said as they walked down the hallway. Once we get to the jet, we'll be in the air in minutes. She swallowed hard. Where are we flying to? A safe house. Off-grid. Marco won't find us. And then, his jaw tightened. Then I handle him. She stopped walking. Junha, what does that mean? He turned to her slowly. It means he crossed a line I cannot ignore. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give without scaring you. Her chest tightened. You think I'm not already scared? He exhaled softly and reached up, brushing her cheek with the back of his knuckles. I don't want you to be scared of me. I'm not scared of you, she said truthfully. I'm scared of what you might become because of me. His eyes softened with something like vulnerability. I've already become it. The honesty struck her hard. Before she could respond, Taeho approached from the foyer. The car is ready, boss. Perimeter is clear. Good, Junha said. Taeho turned to Adenike. Don't be afraid. We've handled worse. She forced a shaky smile. I don't think I've handled worse. Then this will be your last time, Taeho said gently. They stepped outside into the night. 3 SUVs waited by the entrance. 2 black, 1 silver. Security men stood alert, scanning the surroundings. Adenike whispered, "Is this really necessary?" "For you, yes," Junha replied. He opened the door for her, and she climbed in. He slid beside her, their shoulders brushing. The SUV pulled away the second the door closed. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Not tense silence, just heavy, thoughtful silence. Then Adenike asked, "When did your life become like this?" He stared out the window. "When I learned that power without control attracts wolves." "And you have power." "I have an empire," he said quietly, "and empires come with enemies." "Is Marco the only one?" "No." Fear flickered in her eyes. "But he's the only one foolish enough to touch what's mine." Her heart clenched. "Junha." "What?" "You can't say things like that. You can't call me yours." His gaze slid to her, slow, intense, consuming. "I can if I mean it." She inhaled sharply. "We barely know each other." "I know enough." "You say that too easily." "I've lived long enough to recognize what matters," he murmured. "And you matter." Her pulse stuttered. "You don't even know if I'm emotionally stable right now." "I don't need you stable," he said. "I need you honest." "I am being honest." "Then tell me you don't feel anything for me, and I'll drop this conversation. Forever." Her lips parted, but no words came. The truth was sitting too close to the surface. She cared. She cared far too much for a man she barely knew, and he knew it. He looked away, giving her the space she couldn't speak into. The rest of the drive was quiet, emotionally charged silence, thick enough to touch. At the private airport, the jet was already waiting. They boarded quickly, security flanking them on all sides. Inside the cabin, the lights were dim, the atmosphere calm. Adenike sat beside the window, gripping the armrest as the plane prepared for takeoff. Junha buckled his seatbelt and looked over at her. "You're trembling again." "I'm fine." "You're not." She exhaled shakily. "I'm trying to be." He reached for her hand again, gently linking their fingers. "You don't have to try when you're with me," he whispered. Her eyes lifted to his, and something inside her softened. The plane took off. Adenike tensed instinctively, but his hand tightened around hers, grounding her. Once they were airborne, she leaned back into her seat. "Where is this safe house?" "Vancouver." She blinked. "Canada?" "Yes, off the coast. No one can track us there." "And Marco? Won't he know we left?" "He'll know," Junha said. "But he won't know where." She stared at him quietly. "What are you planning to do to him?" He met her gaze without a shred of hesitation. "Whatever it takes." Adenike's breath caught. "I can't let him threaten you," he continued. "I can't let him watch you, or follow you, or breathe in your direction." "You're talking like he hurt me," she whispered. "He did," he said coldly. "The moment he made you afraid." She looked down. "You're going to kill him, aren't you?" Silence. Not denial, not confirmation. Just silence. She reached for his hand, surprising both of them. "Don't become a monster because of me." His breath faltered. He turned his hand, linking their fingers more securely. "I'm already a monster," he murmured. "But you make me want to be something else." Her chest tightened painfully. "What if something happens to you?" "Nothing will." "You can't promise that." He leaned in, his forehead almost touching hers. "Adenike," he whispered, "if I lose you before I even have the chance to love you properly, I'd never forgive myself." Her eyes widened, Her heart flipped. "Don't look at me like that," he murmured. "Like what?" she whispered. "Like you feel it too." She swallowed. "Maybe I do." His breath hitched slightly. A tiny, vulnerable moment she never imagined he could have. Before either could say more, the pilot's voice came through the intercom. "Mr. Seo will be landing in 20 minutes. Adenike exhaled, trying to steady herself. Junha didn't let go of her hand. "Adenike," he murmured, "when we land, stay close to me. Don't walk off alone. Not even for a second." She nodded. "And one more thing," he said. "Yes? If anything happens, anything, you run to me. Do you understand?" Her pulse spiked. "Why would anything happen?" He stared ahead, expression darkening. "Because Marco doesn't want to talk anymore. He wants war." Adenike's stomach twisted. "And you're walking into it?" "No," he said. "I'm ending it." She leaned against her seat, her hand still in his, her pulse still racing. She didn't know whether she should feel protected or terrified. Because she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever happened next would change everything. The jet touched down quietly on a private runway surrounded by trees so dense they looked like a wall. The air in Vancouver was cooler, sharper, carrying hints of pine and distant ocean. Adenike stepped onto the tarmac with her heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the soft hum of the engines behind her. Junha placed a hand at the small of her back, not pushing, just guiding. "Stay close," he murmured. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered. He didn't say it, but she knew he was listening for every unfamiliar sound, scanning every shadow, calculating every movement around them. Tai-Ho and 2 other guards walked ahead, clearing the path to a waiting SUV. Inside the car, Adenike pressed her forehead briefly against the cold window, trying to calm the storm inside her. "How long are we staying here?" "Until I'm sure Marco has no way to reach you," Junha said. "And until you handle him?" she added softly. His jaw flexed. "Yes." She turned to him, heart aching. "And after that? Do you expect me to walk back into my life like nothing happened?" He looked at her then. Really looked. "No. I expect your life to be different. Better. Safer. Because I'm not letting you return to the world that hurt you." "Junha," she whispered, "you can't control my whole life." "No," he said softly. "But I'll control the parts that try to destroy it." She didn't respond. Couldn't, because deep inside, a terrifying truth whispered. She didn't want him to let go. The SUV climbed a winding road toward a secluded hilltop, where a modern glass cabin overlooked the forest. The sky was dimming, turning lavender and blue. As soon as they entered the house, security swept the perimeter. Tai-Ho approached. "Boss, systems are online. No signals in or out unless we authorize them." "Good," Junha said. "Leave us." Tai-Ho nodded and stepped outside. Adenike walked toward the expansive windows, watching the mist creep through the trees below. "I feel like we're hiding from the world." "We are," he said. "And you're okay with that?" His voice dropped lower. "If the world threatens you, yes." She turned to him slowly. "Why does it matter so much to you? Why am I worth this much? Trouble?" He exhaled, the tension in his shoulders loosening as if he'd finally decided to stop hiding something. "Because before you, everything in my life was noise. Business, rivals, deals, a constant fight to stay on top. I didn't feel anything, not really." He stepped closer. "Then I saw you. Quiet, strong, hurting, but still moving, still giving, still hoping. You were light in a place full of shadows? Her breath hitched. I'm not light. I'm just trying to survive. And you survived beautifully, he murmured. Adenike looked down, suddenly overwhelmed. Junha, I don't know if I can carry whatever this is between us. Not with all this danger. He lifted her chin gently. You're not carrying it. I am. You make it sound so easy. His thumb grazed her cheek softly. It's not easy. It's right. Before she could respond, a loud buzz came from the security panel on the wall. Tai-Ho rushed inside. Boss, we have a breach alert. Adenike stiffened. Breach? Someone is here? No, Tai-Ho said quickly. But someone tried to ping the property's location. A trace attempt. Marco? Junha said, voice turning deadly calm. Adenike stepped back. He found us. No, Tai-Ho answered, but he's looking harder. Junha inhaled slowly through his nose. Tai-Ho, prepare the team. We end this. Adenike grabbed his arm. No, please. Don't go rushing out there because of me. He turned to her, eyes softening. I'm not rushing. I'm finishing something that should have ended the day he decided to look at you. This isn't about me, she insisted. Yes, he said quietly. It is. She shook her head. You could die. No, he said simply. I won't. You can't promise that. I can promise I will come back to you, he said firmly. I'll crawl back if I have to. Her lips trembled. I don't want you to kill anyone. He leaned in, resting his forehead against hers. Then pray he gives me another choice. Her breath faltered. Junha, I don't want to lose you. His hand cupped the back of her neck gently. You won't. Silence stretched between them. Charged, terrifying, tender. Finally, she whispered, If you walk out that door, everything between us changes. I know, he murmured. That's why I'm coming back alive. He kissed her forehead. Slow, intentional grounding. Then he pulled away. Tai-Ho, he said, voice returning to steel. Get the car. Yes, boss. Adenike grabbed his hand. Wait, just tell me one thing before you go. He turned back. What? He asked softly. Why me? Her voice broke. Why did you choose me, out of everyone in your world? His expression softened in a way she'd never seen before. Unguarded, vulnerable, real. Because you were the first person who made me. Wish I'd lived differently, he said. Because you were the first softness I wasn't afraid to want. She swallowed hard. And if you don't come back? He stepped closer, eyes blazing with conviction. Then my last regret will be not loving you longer. Her knees nearly gave out. I'll be back, he whispered again. Then he turned and left. The door closed behind him. The guards followed. Engines rumbled outside. Adenike stood frozen, hands shaking violently, staring at the empty doorway where he had just been. She had never prayed harder in her life. Hours passed. Slow, excruciating hours. Every sound made her jump. Every silence made her sink deeper into dread. She sat by the window, hugging her knees, staring at the dark road winding down the hill. What if he doesn't come back? She whispered into the silence. What if he never... Headlights suddenly appeared. Her heart stopped. The SUV climbed the hill. Tai-Ho stepped out first. Then, Junha emerged, unhurt, steady, eyes locked on her instantly. She ran outside before she could think. He caught her in his arms, pulling her tight against him. I told you I'd come back. She buried her face in his chest, shaking. I thought... Shh, he stroked her hair. It's over. But she pulled back sharply, searching his face. Did you kill him? He held her gaze. He won't hurt you again. But did you... I protected you, he said simply. That's all you need to know. She exhaled shakily, tears spilling. I don't know what this is between us, but I'm scared of it. He cupped her cheek. Then let me be brave for both of us. And he kissed her. Slowly, deeply, like a man claiming the moment he nearly lost. Like a promise. Like a beginning. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, he whispered, Adenike, come home with me. Build a life with me. Let me love you the way you always deserved. Her heart, battered and terrified and wanting, finally whispered back, Okay. And it was done. Their story, once born in chaos, found its first breath of peace. If you loved this story and want more intense Afro-Asian romance thrillers, remember to subscribe, like, and drop a comment to keep the stories flowing. Your engagement fuels the next chapter.